Stand here 2,500 years ago, and the first thing you would see is not a ruin, not dust, not silence. You would see walls so massive they seemed to hold up the sky. Gates glazed in deep blue like the surface of water. Streets crowded with merchants, priests, soldiers, slaves, and scribes. And above it all, a city that believed it stood at the center of the world. This was Babylon. Before it vanished, long before its name became a symbol of power, decadence, and mystery, Babylon was a real city of brick, river, smoke, and noise. It rose from the flat plains of Mesopotamia in what is now Iraq, beside the slow-moving Euphrates River. Around it stretched fields of barley, date palms, canals, mud brick villages, and desert horizons that glowed red at sunset. But within its walls, Babylon felt almost impossible. A city of temples and markets, of kings who claimed divine favor, of astronomers who watched the stars from towering platforms, of laborers who hauled bricks beneath the burning sun, and of people who, like us, woke each morning into a world that felt permanent. Yet almost everything they knew would one day disappear. So let us enter Babylon before the silence came. We begin outside the city walls. The air is hot and dry. Dust rises beneath the feet of donkeys, oxen, and travelers arriving from distant lands. Some come from the Persian Gulf, carrying spices. Others bring timber, metals, and precious stones from far beyond Mesopotamia.
Ahead of them stands Babylon's outer defense. Ancient writers described the city's walls with awe. The walls were made from millions of mud bricks, sun-dried or baked in kilns, stacked into thick defensive barriers. Towers rose at intervals. Guards watched the roads. Gates controlled the movement of people and goods. For anyone approaching, Babylon seemed like a man-made mountain. But the true entrance was still ahead. The processional way. This grand avenue led toward one of the most famous monuments of the ancient world, the Ishtar Gate. And as you came closer, the colors would begin to appear. Deep blue glazed bricks catching the light. Rows of golden lions, dragons, and bulls marching across the walls. The animals were not decoration alone. They were symbols of gods, kingship, and protection. Every creature announced the same message. You are not walking into an ordinary city. You are entering Babylon. Pass beneath the Ishtar Gate, and the city opens around you. The streets are alive. You hear the scrape of wooden cartwheels, the calls of market sellers, the bleating of goats, the slap of sandals on baked earth. The smell is overwhelming. Bread from clay ovens, fish from the river, incense from shrines, sweat, animals, smoke, and damp mud. Babylon was not clean and silent like a museum. It was dense, crowded, and alive. Houses were made mostly of mud brick. Many had flat roofs where families could sleep during hot nights. Courtyards formed the heart of the home, shaded from the sun, filled with jars, baskets, cooking fires, and the sounds of family life. In narrow streets, women carried water. Children ran between doorways. Craftsmen shaped metal, carved seals, wove textiles, and pressed cuneiform marks into clay tablets.
Writing was everywhere in Babylon's world. Scribes used reed styluses to press wedge-shaped signs into soft clay. These tablets recorded trade, taxes, contracts, legal disputes, astronomical observations, and royal commands. A single tablet might preserve the sale of a field, another the movement of grain, another the position of Venus in the night sky. Beneath the splendor, it ran on paperwork. At the center of Babylon stood its sacred heart. Here, the city changed. The streets widened. The buildings became larger. The crowds grew more formal. Priests moved through temple courtyards in ritual clothing. Offerings were carried in baskets. Incense rose into the hot air. This was the domain of Marduk, Babylon's chief god. His great temple complex, Esagila, was one of the most important religious centers in Mesopotamia. To the Babylonians, this was not merely a place of worship. It was a point of contact between heaven and earth. Nearby rose the ziggurat known as Itemenanki, a massive stepped tower of brick. Some believe this inspired the story of the Tower of Babel. To someone in ancient Babylon, the ziggurat was unforgettable. It climbed above the city in stages, its upper levels catching sunlight before the streets below. A stairway toward the gods. Babylonian religion shaped everything: politics, time, farming, festivals, law, and kingship. The king did not simply rule by force. He ruled because he was believed to maintain order between the gods and the human world. But that order was fragile. And Babylon's greatest moments often came just before danger arrived. Now we enter the Babylon of Nebuchadnezzar II. This was the king who transformed Babylon into one of the most magnificent cities of the ancient world. Under his rule, Babylon expanded, rebuilt, and glittered with imperial ambition. The city became a statement in brick. Palaces stretched across enormous courtyards. Administrative buildings stored wealth and records. Temples were restored. Walls were strengthened. The processional way became a ceremonial artery through which gods, priests, kings, and crowds moved during great festivals. And somewhere within this royal city may have stood one of history's most famous wonders, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Ancient writers described terraces filled with trees, plants, and flowing water, rising like a green mountain in the middle of the city. The gardens remain one of history's great mysteries, yet the image survives because it captures something true about Babylon itself, a place where human ambition tried to overcome nature. In a dry landscape of mud, heat, and river canals, the idea of gardens suspended above the city felt almost magical, a paradise built by empire. But empires always cast shadows. Behind Babylon's beauty was labor. Thousands of workers shaped the city. Brickmakers, canal diggers, porters, builders, farmers, soldiers, and captives. The city's wealth came from agriculture, trade, taxation, and conquest. The palace commanded armies and construction projects. For the elite, Babylon offered luxury, fine textiles, carved furniture, imported goods, banquets, ceremonies,
access to learning and power. For ordinary people, life was harder. A farmer might spend his days maintaining irrigation canals. A woman might manage a household economy. A slave might work in a temple with little control over life.
And yet, within this world, people still loved, argued, prayed, celebrated, and feared the future. They watched the same moon rise over the Euphrates. They gathered during festivals. They told stories of gods and kings. They buried their dead. They believed Babylon would endure. But beyond the walls, history was moving. In 539 BCE, the Persian king Cyrus the Great approached Babylon. The city that had seemed untouchable now faced a new power. The exact details of Babylon's fall are still debated, but what matters is the outcome. Babylon fell, not in a single blaze of destruction, but in a quieter, stranger way. It was absorbed. Under Persian rule, Babylon remained important for a time. Its temples continued. Its scribes kept writing. But the city's destiny had changed. Power moved elsewhere. Empires rose around it, then over it. Persians, Greeks, Parthians, others. Little by little, Babylon faded from the center of the world into memory. The canals shifted, the buildings decayed. Mud brick returned to earth. The great blue gate fell into fragments. The streets emptied. The city that once seemed eternal became a name whispered through scripture, legend, and ruins. Today, Babylon is a memory, a haunting whisper of a vanished world. Walls crumble, rivers shift, empires move on. But history never truly disappears. It waits beneath the dust. And sometimes, if we look closely enough, we can still walk through the gates. If you enjoyed this journey, consider subscribing. Tell us in the comments, which lost city should we visit next?